The founders I respect most do not talk about their businesses the way most founders do. They do not talk about growth as if it is the only metric that matters. They do not talk about their main offer as if it is the only thing they will ever build. And they do not talk about a difficult quarter as if it is a crisis. They talk about their businesses the way a portfolio manager talks about positions, with a certain detachment, a certain structural clarity, an understanding that what they are managing is not just a business, but a collection of assets that need to be allocated, monitored, and rebalanced over time. That way of thinking changed everything about how I build. Most founders I know are completely fused with what they have built. The business is not something they own. It is something they are. Every decision carries the full emotional weight of their identity. A slow month feels like failure. A difficult client feels like a personal attack. A competitor gaining ground feels like a threat to something fundamental about who they are. I understand that fusion. I lived in it for years. But it is also one of the most expensive mindsets a founder can carry. Because when you are fused with what you have built, you cannot see it clearly. You cannot make the cold structural decisions that actually determine whether the thing survives and grows. You are too close to it. Portfolio thinking creates distance. Not emotional detachment in a way that makes you not care, but structural distance. The ability to look at what you have built the way an investor looks at a position. To ask not just, is this working, but is this the best use of my capital and my attention right now? That question sounds simple. Its implications are enormous. Most founders think diversification means having multiple revenue streams. It does not. You can have 5 revenue streams that all fail at exactly the same moment because they all depend on the same underlying condition. That is not diversification. That is the illusion of it. Real portfolio thinking is about building positions that are structurally uncorrelated. When one contracts, the others do not. That is the difference between a business that weathers pressure and one that collapses under it. There is a concept in portfolio management called correlation risk. It means that if all your positions move in the same direction at the same time, your diversification is an illusion. Most founders have this problem without knowing it. Multiple revenue streams that all depend on the same single client type. Multiple offers that all require the same market condition to work. The streams look different on the surface. Underneath, they are the same bet repeated. That is not a portfolio. That is concentration dressed up as variety. Identifying your own correlation risk requires a specific kind of honesty. You have to look at every income stream you have and ask what single condition, if it changed, would affect all of them simultaneously. A shift in your target market, a platform changing its algorithm, a regulatory change in your industry, an economic contraction that affects your client base. If the answer to that question is the same for most of your streams, you do not have a portfolio. You have a single bet with extra steps. I went through this exercise myself, and it was uncomfortable. I had what looked like a diversified set of income streams until I asked the honest question. Almost all of them depended on the same underlying thing: my personal reputation in a specific professional community. The diversification was real on the surface. Underneath it was a single concentrated bet. Fixing that meant deliberately building streams that drew from genuinely different sources. That independence does not happen by accident. It has to be designed. The second thing portfolio thinking changes is how you manage your own attention. Attention is the scarcest resource a founder has. Not money, not time in the crude sense. Attention, the quality of focused presence you can bring to something, determines the quality of the decisions you make about it. And like capital in a portfolio, attention needs to be allocated deliberately rather than spread thin across everything that demands it. Most founders allocate attention reactively. Whatever is loudest gets the most focus. Whatever is most urgent dominates the week. The strategic work that actually moves the needle gets deferred because the operational noise is always more immediate. Over time, this reactive allocation means the founder is always managing problems rather than building positions, always responding rather than designing. Portfolio managers think about attention the same way they think about capital. You do not put your best capital into your worst performing positions just because they are demanding the most attention. You allocate toward the positions with the highest potential return on that allocation, and you accept that some positions will run with minimal active management, while others need concentrated focus for a period. There is a transition every founder eventually faces that nobody prepares them for. The moment when the thing they built stops needing them at full capacity. Most founders respond to that moment with anxiety. They fill the space with more activity, more projects, more involvement. What portfolio managers understand that founders do not is that this moment is not a problem. It is a signal. The position has matured. It is time to redeploy attention toward the next one. That is not abandonment. That is how a portfolio grows. The founders who build lasting wealth are not the ones who found one perfect thing and scaled it forever. They are the ones who treated each thing they built as a position in a larger system, who understood when to concentrate and when to diversify, who knew when a position had matured and when it was time to redeploy, who built with enough structural awareness that no single bad outcome could take the whole thing down. That is what portfolio thinking actually means in practice. Not having lots of different things. Having things that are deliberately structured to complement each other, to behave differently under pressure, and to give you options at every stage of the journey. If you have been here from the beginning, you know every piece of this connects. If today is your first video, go back to episode 1. Subscribe, because tomorrow we go further. I will see you then.